I tell you what, to people thinking about robbing mothers in broad daylight, think again, mate. Honestly.
I've been past here a few times and wondered to myself, how was this allowed on Park Lane in London? Especially not too far from the famous Dorchester Hotel. So on the internet it said, this site is homing over 100 homeless migrants as what they described as Tent City.
I feel so sorry for people who live in London. I spent just one day there and I can confidently say I wouldn't live there for any amount of money.
Where would the best place in the UK be to live for the average person who just works a normal job? So as you would, you'd pick the capital first, London, and I had a quick look at the prices. And then I realised living in London is literally impossible for the average person these days.
Ever looked around London lately and thought, what the hell happened? Streets feel rough, prices are mad, and the vibes feels just off. It ain't the city we grew up loving, that's for sure. Let's see how these people feel about the state of London now.
So this video is a little bit different. I've been past here a few times and wondered to myself, how was this allowed on Park Lane in London? Especially not too far from the famous Dorchester Hotel on Park Lane. So I looked it up a little bit to see what it was all about. You've got an expensive car showroom right here. Say it's Car Hotel. These are extremely expensive properties. And to look out your window and have this as your morning view, I don't know. I'm going to take a walk through there now. We'll get a bit closer, have a proper close-up look. I have seen a few people come down, realise where they are and turn around. So I don't think many people walk through here. So on the internet, it said, this site is homing over 100 homeless migrants as what they described as Tent City. It then goes on to say, the presence of the tents opposite the Dorchester has caused fury amongst the residents and the office workers. Then says the migrants are mostly from Bosnia. A lot of people have been questioning how are these allowed to live here. Last time I went past there was a lot more tents here, but as you can see they have a proper little setup and it's not hidden from the public at all. But yeah guys, that's the homeless camp on Park Lane. Let me know your thoughts in the comments guys. Should they be moved on or left alone?
Imagine going about your day and then suddenly witnessing someone get robbed in broad daylight. That's exactly what happened to this lady.
I tell you what, to people thinking about robbing mothers in broad daylight, think again, mate. Honestly, I'm out and about, right? I've just been into Next to take something back, and I was heading towards Aldi for my sins, and suddenly this woman was screaming, give me it back. And I could see her belting this bloke, right? He'd only tried to pinch a phone. He tried to nick her phone and he was screaming back saying, I didn't do anything. He had her phone in his hand and she's smacking him with her bag saying, give me my phone, whacking him, right? Security's just standing there, right? I'm shouting at him, give her phone back. Anyway, I'm recording him at the same time, so I've got a perfect picture of this bloke. Anyway, he gave her phone back and then he ran off. But the security guards come over at me and was like, were you filming that? I was like, yes, I was, sunshine. They're like, can we have the recording? I was like, yes, you can. So anyway, there's a lovely close-up of his face, and apparently he's well known in this area, so they better get a hold of him. Anyway, don't try and fuck with us women when we're out with our kids trying to shop and do something decent. Anyway, love you, bye.
It really isn't glamorous working in the city of London. Like, yes, the buildings are beautiful, but the reality is no one on a London wage can actually afford to live anywhere near London. So everyone has like an hour commute at least into the city, meaning that you're having to leave at least an hour, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours before your actual start time. Sometimes, depending on where you live, you can't even get onto a tube because it's so busy. Sometimes you're walking into an empty office if you don't realise that none of your team are in. Luckily for me, there's always someone from my team in. We are hybrid, which does help a lot. But yeah, most of the time you're exhausted before you've even done any work. So, you know, I'm just keeping it real with you guys. Like, I love working in London. I wouldn't change it for the world. Like, look at this. Today was just such a stunning January day. And yeah, it was good. But it was my 4th day in the city this week and I'm exhausted. When that 3 p.m. slump hits, it hits hard. And yeah, it was Thirsty Thursday and I could only manage 2 beers. That is so not like me. So I'm just here to keep it real with you all, that not every day is glamorous, not every day is amazing. And those influencers who make every day look like it's the best day ever are lying to you. And for me personally, I'm happy January's over.
This lady visited London once and said she'd never consider living here. This tells you everything you need to know about the state of London.
I feel so sorry for people who live in London. I spent just one day there and I can confidently say I wouldn't live there for any amount of money. And here is for reasons why. Public transport. Call me spoiled, but I would never use it again. The tube feels like a sauna that hasn't been clean in 100 years. Driving? Good luck with traffic. Useless charges and parking that costs more than the rent. Everything is insanely expensive. Even with a normal London wage, basic things cost to double. How do you people even survive? It's dirty and full of tourists everywhere. Going further zone 2, streets look scary. Half of your life is wasted on commuting, squeezing into packed train, barely able to breathe, spending hours getting to work and back. How come it's everyone's dream life? Londoners, be honest, do you actually like it? And does the city even have any pros?
Oh my god. Wait, is this London? Looks like a third world country.
This Aussie is absolutely done with London prices.
Another thing about London that is so stupid, sorry Londoners, but it's the truth, is the price of everything here. So stupid. Tell me why my meal at Five Guys cost me $45. Five Guys, that's a fast food chain, right? The equivalent of McDonald's. I got a meal for one person, $45. Did not get nothing crazy. Not one that I didn't get a toy with it. There is no world at all where a coffee should cost me 10 Australian dollars. That is crazy cakes. That is absolute cakes. I went to one like decent restaurant, not fancy, just like a decent restaurant, and we didn't even drink alcohol, and I'm pretty sure it was $75 each.
More and more people are moving out of London because the cost of living is a joke. This bloke breaks it down up to pennies.
This morning I thought to myself, where would the best place in the UK be to live for the average person who just works a normal job? So as you would, you'd pick the capital first, London, and I had a quick look at the prices. And then I realised living in London is literally impossible for the average person these days. Out of all the sources I found, the average wage in the UK is 34.9 grand per year. Obviously London's going to be more, and out of all the sources I found, the average was £42.2 thousand per year. And if you're earning that much money, you're paying approximately 8.9 grand as tax. That is what you're left with per year. And in 2023, this is how much rent was in London. Obviously, we're in a recession now, which means it's probably going to be a little bit less, but I have to go off a source, so we're going to go off this. So over a year, you'd be paying this much. So this is the amount you're left with over the course of an entire year. 12 months work for that. Now, say you're spending £3 per day on food, which is extremely difficult as it is, but say you bought cheap, you meal prepped really well, and you only spent £3 per day. This is how much you'd be spending in the entire year on food. You're now left with that much. Now you're spending 842 quid on water. You're now left with this much. I'm going to literally take the cheapest one for the gas bill, and here's our remaining money. Oh, don't forget the electricity bill, 725 quid per year. We're now in debt just by living. Now, say you wanted to have a life, you wanted to enjoy your weekend, or maybe go on a holiday once per year for the couple of weeks you have off from work, like 4 weeks. You're now in even more debt than that. Oh, and if you've got like kids or a family or someone you need to look after and pay for as well, good luck. Now, I was speaking to a few Canadians the other day and they said it's way worse in Canada than it is in London. I'm thinking, what is going on over there? Is this just going to keep continuing like for the rest of our life until every single person in the country is in debt? And you wonder why Brits want to move abroad.
Let's talk about Heathrow Airport. Delays, lost luggage, endless queues. It's a stress simulator disguised as an airport.
London Heathrow is the worst airport on the planet, and I'm going to prove it to you. This all starts off because I needed to fly from Nairobi to London. I have a connecting flight here, but it's on a different airline. As soon as I land, I am sprinting through this airport. I know that I only have 3 hours to connect. I want to make sure that I have more than enough time to go to the lounge and get through the UK border. Now, the border is not actually the problem. The problem is that I had to wait 1 hour for my bag. But it doesn't stop there. I then need to connect to a different terminal. Easy, right? Not at London Heathrow. Now brace yourself. This is absolutely bonkers. So to get from Terminal 4 to 5, you have to connect through Terminals 2 and 3. Now again, this should not be a problem. But the train that I'm sprinting to right now leaves every 10 minutes to connect the different terminals. So I actually sat on this train for 10 minutes, which means I'm then running through the airport to properly check in my bag on time. Luckily, I have status with British Airways, so there was no line for me and they were super helpful in getting my bag checked after the time. But wow, what an absolute shit show. I am so ready to just get on this flight, sit in my Club World seat, and honestly just sleep. I don't know why I keep putting myself through this, flying through London Heathrow.
Who'd be keen to pay council tax when the streets stink, bins are overflowing like no one's shown up for days? The amount of crazies in London seems to be multiplying by the day. This lady just wanted some groceries and ended up in a weird encounter at the grocery store.
I'm getting so sick of London. I genuinely haven't left the house in 2 months without having a bad interaction. Is it just me? I feel like I'm cursed. I just stepped into Co-op to check out the Sunday deals, and I went to the cashier because I needed to pay with cash to get rid of my loose change. And there was a guy stood in front of me, and he had no shopping, he wasn't talking to the cashier, he was just stood there. And so he turned around and looked at me as well, I didn't say anything, turned back around again, and then I said, oh, are you queuing? And then he turns back around and was like, yeah, and like gives me these evil eyes and gives me like a really long look. So I was like, okay, I was just checking. He turns back around and goes, where are you now? And I said, is there a problem? And then he goes, if you want there to be. And I was at this point so confused. I was actually shocked, didn't know what to say. I start shaking because this is what happens to me when I have an interaction like this. And I looked at the cashier being like, help me, please. He didn't say anything. He didn't even look confused, so I don't know what he thought was going on. But you would have thought like he would maybe say, oh, I'm just serving this man, you know, if he was serving him. So I was like, just didn't say anything, looked at him, and then he turns back around, and then a couple of seconds later turns back around to me and goes, okay, you go then, as if he's doing me a favour. And I'm like, are you even buying anything? I'm so fucking confused. So I went up and I paid, and I was like trying to give my shopping and trying to count up my coins, and I was like, you know, and then I just left. But I'm just, this genuinely, stuff like this happens to me every time I leave the house. The other day I went to go post an every parcel, and some woman decided to pick a fight with me because I asked her to step literally half a metre to the right so that I could get past and give my parcel to the cashier who had just asked me to do that. And she's like, why couldn't you go that way? And I was like, because there's somebody else stood there. So, you know, I'm so sorry I had to ask you to move half a metre. You're holding up the queue. Can you just move, you know? And she's just like, I don't understand it. Do I look mean? There's something about me saying, hey, I want to pick a fight with you today. And it's not like any particular demographic of person, men, women, you know, people who are older, people who are younger. Somebody always seems to have an issue, and I feel like I'm not doing anything that's like, you know, should warrant this kind of reaction from people. It makes me so upset as well. So I just had the loveliest day at Kew Gardens with my friend. You know, you have access to all these amazing things in London, but I feel like there's just so many people out there who just really want to ruin that for you. I don't know. I should probably focus on the positives more, but when it happens as often as it does to me, it's kind of, sometimes it just feels really hard. Not to let it get you down.
Even the iconic London phone boxes are a scam now.
Do you know what's funny? I feel like internationally, phone boxes are like seen as like a landmark of London, but most phone boxes in London are fucking disgusting. Look at this one. This is what they actually look like. Basically, people just use it to piss in, so it's basically just like a urinal. It's not like a glamorous, cute touristy thing.
So is London still the city we fell in love with, or just a shadow of its former self? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you found this eye-opening, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. What do you think London needs to change?